In this video, we are going to talk about Java classes and Java objects. So upon completion of this module, you are expected to be able to understand the meaning of object-oriented programming, explain the difference and distinguish between classes and objects, create classes and create class objects, and call the specific methods that we create in those classes based on those objects. So we have seen Java classes before, and a Java class is a special construct that holds data and methods. We have used some precompiled classes that are included with Java library, such as string. And yes, string is a class, it's not a data type. And we also have seen scanner, where we used it to get the user's input. And then we have used system as well to print using print line or printf or even print. We also use some other classes like math class, and there are many classes in Java. But the purpose of this module is to allow us to create our own classes containing our own functionality. So classes can be created by the programmer, and you can have custom methods and you can serve a specific purpose. So we have seen many examples of classes. So every single Java program that we created so far is a Java class. But keep in mind that class can have a main method, but it's not always required. For all the applications that we have seen so far, we included a main method because the main method is what's going to run the class. But as we will see in this video, we can create some classes without main methods, and then we can create what we call a driver class or a demo class that is going to create objects from those different classes, and then going to have a main method that is going to run the methods from those classes. So to create objects, we have to know first what's a Java object. So an object is whatever gets created from a class, and we use the keyword new to create an object. So the general syntax is class name followed by object name, and that is equal to new class name, which is the same class name we use. And then we have parentheses. Sometimes we have arguments, sometimes we don't have arguments, depending on the class implementation itself. So some examples are scanner, cn is equal to new scanner, and then in parentheses system.n, and this is how we acquire users input. And another example is when we want to create a new string, we can say string s is equal to new string, and then we can leave the parentheses without any arguments, and that is going to create an empty string. Or we can create a string that has some content by providing the content in the parentheses. Now this is the same as saying string s2 is equal to, and then in parentheses I say hi there, and then follow it by a semicolon. So the reason this exists is basically because string is widely used, and this is some kind of shortcut, but the original way to create a string is basically to create a string object, which is this one right here. So this is how to create a string object. Now let me go and try to create some classes and create a driver class that is going to run all of those classes. So I'll go to Eclipse. I went ahead and created a new Java project, and I called it classes. Now this does not have anything. So what I will do is I will come here and create a class. And let me call this class square. So what I'm trying to do is basically creating different classes, one for square, and I'll create another one for rectangle, and maybe a third one for a circle. Those will not have main methods, will only have their specific methods, and then what I will do is I'll create a driver class that is responsible of running all of those classes. So now let me create this class, and what I need to do here, I will just go ahead and create some methods. And previously, when we created methods, we used to include the keyword static in there because we used it directly in the main method, which is a static context. But now, since we are creating objects, we don't have to mention the keyword static. So we will ignore the keyword static in here. So we'll say public double, and I need to create a method for the area of the square, and this is going to take a double, which is the side, and the area of the square is basically side by side square, or basically side by side. So I can just say return side times side. So this is basically going to multiply the side by itself and return it to me. Now I can also create another method for the parameter. So I will say public double. I'm gonna call mine param for parameter, and then this is going to take a double as its input, and the double is going to be the side again, and the parameter of the square is basically 4 times the side. So return 4 times side. And just to make everything more coherent, or basically get the information about a square, including both of those, I will create a method that's called info. So public string info, and this is going to take a double, which is a side. What's going to happen here is going to print everything about this triangle. So our return is basically not printing, but returning a string that contains everything. So the square, or the square side, is, and then I will include the side, and then I will also say and its area is whatever. So let me just create a new line /n. Its area is whatever I get from calling the area method on the side. And then finally I need the parameter, so I will add another string here starting with /n to get it in a new line, and I'll say and its parameter is, and then finally what I'll do is I'll call my param method and the side itself and a semicolon. So I completed my square class. So let me do the same thing for another class, which is going to be rectangle. And I don't need a main method as well, so I'll finish it up like this. So for the rectangle, I will just copy those methods, and then I will just edit them just to have the thing go faster a little bit. So I'll come here for my rectangle. So for the rectangle, I need side 1, and then another double side 2. And what I will do is basically I'll return side 1 times side 2. And then for the parameter, I will also have side 1 and side 2. And what I will return is basically 2 times, I believe it should be side 1 plus side 2. And finally, in my info, what I will do is basically I will have both arguments in here, and then I will call my methods on side 1 comma side 2, and the same thing is going to happen for the other method. Now we can create a class for circle, the same thing, but this needs to be sides, the rectangle sides. The rectangles sides are side 1 plus, and then I'll say and plus side 2, and I'll save this. Now let me go to create another driver class, which is the demo class. So you can call it driver, you can call it demo, you can call it whatever. You can even call it shapes, but I will call it demo. And in my demo class, I need a main method because I need to run everything in here. So what I will do in my demo class is I will come here and I will create an object. So creating a square object. What I will do here is I will say square, and we call it SQ is equal to a new square. And this is going to create a square object for me, and then I can call my methods on that. And I will also create a rectangle. Let me call it RE is equal to a new rectangle. I maybe misspelled it. Okay. So what I will do here, I can call the methods one by one, but to save time, I will just call the info. So how do I call the methods for each class? When I say SQ, follow it by a dot, it is going to list all the methods that are applicable to this. So I implemented area, I implemented parameter, and I implemented info. So I will give it a side of 3, for example. And then what I will do is I will also call my method on the rectangle, so re dot info, and then it's gonna ask me for 2 sides because I implemented it with 2 sides, so 2 and 4. So let me save this and run it, and now it's printing the first print from the square class, and the second print is from the rectangle class. Now keep in mind that I can't call any other method, so I can just go here and just print a new line just to separate those. And then what I will do is I will say system.out.println, and let's just call the square SQ dot area. So dot area, and let me give it a double 5.5 for example and print it. So this is just going to print the number because I'm just returning the number at the end. And this is how we basically create classes and objects from those classes.